All right, hello everyone. We are going to be creating a sunflower today, inspired by Vincent van Gogh. We're going to focus on the sunflower head. So we're going to include the center where the seeds grow, and we're going to include the petals in our picture. Now when we get started, we're going to be drawing the center first using a circle shape. But it's really important that we make a big circle, not a little one. And we're also going to be drawing with chalk. Now, one of the things that we need to do in order to draw with the chalk is actually get a cup with some water in it. So you're going to want to have just a tiny bit, like maybe that much in the bottom of the cup, not a lot, but a tiny bit of water in there. And that is going to help us draw with the chalk. It actually makes the chalk feel a little bit more like paint when we're drawing with it, and it's not as dusty. All right, so when we get started, we're going to take a brown color. This is the part of the sunflower before it grows seeds. If you have black instead of brown, you could use that too to draw your circle. And you want to be drawing on a darker paper. If you don't have dark paper, you can use something lighter. I like the way it shows up a little bit better on the dark paper though. So I'm going to start by getting this wet. So I'm going to just dip the tip. You can see now it's wet. It will dry out eventually, but it won't dry out right away. And then we want to make the center of the sunflower bigger than our fist. So when you look at your fist on the paper, the center should be bigger than that. I'm just going to draw a slow circle. All right, so that's the first step. The next step is to draw what's in the center of your sunflower. Now, in some of mine, I show more like seeds, and the seeds of the sunflower are black and white. But the sunflower doesn't always have seeds to start with. It actually has pollen, and it has a place where the bees come, the bees and the butterflies, to get the pollen. So it's up to you to decide how you want to draw the middle. On this one, instead of drawing the little kind of round seed shapes, I'm going to go ahead and add the rings of color in. Some sunflowers actually have like rings of color. So I'm going to do that brown there. And then I'm going to grab a yellow to kind of show where the pollen is. I'm going to get that wet. And I'm going to draw one right there. And maybe add a little bit of the pollen inside of it. All right, now, once you're done drawing the center of the sunflower, you are going to want to blend it a little bit with your fingertip. So this can get a bit messy. It sometimes helps to have a paper towel or a tissue with you to kind of wipe your finger on. But I'm just going to soften the lines now. So I'm just going over the lines a little bit. And then I can use what's on the lines, on the edges, to kind of fill in the middle. And I'm just using my pointer finger. I'm not using anything else. I'm not using the nail of my finger. It's like the fingerprint part of my finger that I'm blending with. And then I'm going to come around here, kind of smear in this middle a little bit, soften it up, and spread it out. All right. So now that the center of my sunflower is done, I'm ready to move on to the petals. Now the trick to a sunflower petal is it's not a circle shape. It's not round, it's actually pointy. So we want to make more of a triangle shape. So I'm going to get my yellow, and I notice it's dried out, so I'm going to re-dip the tip of it in the water. And I'm going to do basically a giant zigzag. I don't want to go too fast. I'm just going to make a nice zigzag all the way around my flower. Now, a lot of sunflowers have yellow petals, but one of the things that Vincent van Gogh always did really well in his artwork was he used more than one color. So now that I've drawn my petals, I can go and add some other colors inside of them. So maybe near the tips, I decide to make them yellow. But a lot of times near the center of the sunflower, the color gets a little darker. I think you can even see that a little bit on this one. It's a little bit more golden towards the middle and a little bit lighter yellow towards the tip. Some sunflowers actually even have red near the middle, so you can add in some red there as well. And you can just kind of, I forgot to get this one wet. So I'm going to go ahead and get that wet, because then it's a little bit thicker, which means it'll smear better. So I'm actually going to add a little bit of red here to each petal. And I don't need to add, this is actually more of an orange red, but I don't need to add a ton of it. A little bit will be fine. And you'll probably notice as it's wet, it's darker, but then as it dries, it gets a lot lighter. So once I've got all of my color here on my petals, then I'm going to blend those with my finger again. Now I'm gonna start with the yellow part first, because if I blend the orange part first, it's probably gonna smear into the yellow and then I won't have yellow anymore. So I'm gonna do all the yellow tips first. And then after I've done all the yellow tips, I'm gonna do the orange. And the orange and the yellow should mix together a little bit as well. So now I'm gonna do the orange, kind of mix it in. And it makes it look like it's blended in the middle, makes like a nice yellow-orange color. Now, once I'm done doing the petals, I still need to do the background. And for this picture, I'm gonna make the background a sky color. So I'm gonna use a blue. There we go. All right, so my finger's a little bit dirty, so I might wanna wipe that off before I go and use blue, or else it's gonna end up mixed with the blue. So now I'm gonna grab a blue here, I'm gonna dip it so it's wet. I'm gonna add some just lines of color in between the petals, all the way to the edges. I'm gonna do that all the way around. If you wanna use more than one color to do this, you could. You could use like a light blue and a dark blue. You could use a purplish color in there if you wanted. You could do a little bit of green in there if you wanted, so it looks like it's in a sunflower field. But you wanna add that all the way around. And then you're just gonna go back and kind of soften those lines as well to kind of smear and blend the chalk to fill in the background. You want to try your best not to do that on the petals though. If you go across the petals while you're doing this, it's going to end up smearing the petals and mixing the blue into the petals. So try your best not to blend across the petals, just go in between them to smear the chalk with your finger. And then once that's done, you will be a little bit messy, not too messy. It should come right off when you wash your hands. You may also notice there's some bits of loose chalk. So that comes right off. Usually you can just shake it off. But to keep this from smearing anymore, you want to put something on top of it to kind of hold the chalk on. And one of the easiest things that you can use at home is hairspray. So if someone has hairspray at home, you just kind of spray the hairspray over it, and that'll help kind of lock the chalk in place so it's not so messy. All right, I hope you have fun.